Hola everyone, JB Throws here back with another video, and today we're talking about Seaworld San Antonio. In honor of Shark Week, I decided to talk about this theme park particularly, because it relates to the sea, but also continuing a long series that I have on this channel, where I give all the tips and tricks you need to know before you visit a theme park. So today, I'll give you everything you need to know, so you can ride everything in Seaworld San Antonio, watch all the shows, and the do's and do nots of Seaworld San Antonio. Before I get into the video though, I would like to say, if you like my content and videos, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to know when new videos arrive on my channel. JB Thrills is a different channel as we cover all sorts of thrills for all those thrill seekers. From roller coasters to flat rides to water rides. If it's a thrill, no matter where it's located, it's covered on the channel. So if you're a thrill seeker, you should definitely consider subscribing. Anyways, let's get into today's video. So after visiting SeaWorld San Antonio multiple times, I've picked up on a lot of tips and tricks to guarantee a great experience. From being able to watch every show, to riding every attraction in the park, as well as the perfect eating times and the right restaurants. But because I have so many tips and tricks, I split the video into categories, from planning to dining to entertainment and more. So I put timestamps in the description if you want to skip to a specific category. If not, you can just watch to the end. Anyways, let's get into the video. Probably the most important tip for any theme park is to make sure you plan your visit and have priorities. Make sure you know what you want to ride, and if you don't know what the park has to offer, there's many ways you can find out. Like for one, you can download the app Log Ride and check how many attractions the park has and what they are. You can also watch every ride at SWSA San Antonio, which is on my channel, or just visit the website. Either way, know what you want to do, so that way you don't miss out, and that way you're not wandering around the park not knowing what to do. Which leads to the next tip. Have priorities. Have something you guarantee you want to do, whether it's watching Orca Encounter or riding Steel Eel. Having a priority attraction will make plan making easier. Now here's a special tip. For those who owns animals like dogs or cats, SeaWorld San Antonio actually provides a free kennel. Close to the main parking lot of SeaWorld San Antonio, there's a free pet kennel right there with air conditioning. All you gotta do is just check in, put your animal in there, and definitely make them comfy depending on how long you're going to be at SeaWorld San Antonio. You can put in their pet bed, definitely some treats and water, extra water, and anything else that can make your pet feel comfortable while you're at the park. And then when you're done at your visit at SeaWorld San Antonio, you can definitely pick up your pet and then go home, which is a way better option than leaving them at the hotel. Unless you like leaving them at the hotel, then it's okay. But definitely helps those who doesn't know where to put their pets and pays high prices for pet hotels. Now while the pets are kept safe and healthy in the pet kennel, we should also be keeping ourselves healthy when at the park. It can get very hot in Texas and we've seen people pass out. So I definitely recommend drinking water before you go to the park. And then while you're there, you can also ask for free water cups, because they can and they will give you free water. So don't get scammed into buying some Dasani, because that makes you thirstier. Now here's a really important tip for those who want to buy something at SeaWorld. More and more theme parks are switching to cashless. And while I can't confirm if SeaWorld San Antonio completely switched to cashless, the last time I went, majority of the stores were cashless. So if you want to buy something and all you have is cash, I definitely recommend putting that cash into a card prior to visiting SeaWorld San Antonio. Otherwise, you'll have to go to an ATM to switch it out, so don't bring cash. Anyways, let's get into the navigational tips. SeaWorld San Antonio's layout is actually pretty straightforward. It's basically just an oval with the lake in the center with attractions sprinkled around the ring. So this is where it's important to know what your priorities are, and where majority of them are so you can know which path to take. If your priority is Turtle Reef, Texas Stingray, and Orca Encounter, then definitely go to the right first. But if your priority is Steel Eel, Wave Breaker, and the Sesame Street Bay of Filet, then go to the left, and basically ride your majority rides there, and then work yourself around. The attractions that are mainly at the midpoint, and it really doesn't matter where you go, is Great White. It's more towards the middle of the park, so whether you go to the left or the right, it kinda ends up in the same path. So don't worry much about that. Now what about how to get to Discovery Point? Most people actually struggle finding Discovery Point since it's not really connected to the main park. To actually get there, you will actually have to turn left on the main plaza, not the entrance where you scan your tickets. In the main plaza where the fountain is, before you go anywhere, you turn to the left and then you'll see a Discovery Point sign. For those who don't know what Discovery Point is, it's an additional area of the park that holds the dolphins, has an aquarium full of sharks, and has great merch. In there you can get up close views of dolphins and even swim with them. So if you're interested in Discovery Point, you should definitely head there first, because it does close earlier than the main park, and swimming with dolphins is definitely a lifetime experience. And for the last path tip, it's mainly for families. For those that have kids and is wondering what are all the attractions for kids, as well as where are they, we have Sesame Street Bay of Play, which is the giant playground, with all the kid attractions there. The playground is currently under construction, so it's not operational, but they still have all the attractions nearby. And another playground further down, next to the alligators. Basically everything kid-centric is on the left side of the path. And while we do have Turtle Reef, it's not really a kids area, it's more for intermediate thrill seekers. So those over 48. But for those under, yeah, Sesame Street Bay of Play and the playground nearby is definitely perfect, so I definitely suggest going to the left if you're a family who's going to be stuck in the kids area for a while. Anyways, next up we got tips on the attractions. Seaworld San Antonio has a great collection of attractions, from thrilling roller coasters, to fun flat rides, to soaking water rides. But it is important to know the tips about these attractions, because not all of them are reliable, and some have really long waits, so it's important to know what to get on first. But first, here's a really major tip, which is about loose articles. SeaWorld San Antonio is really strict about this, and bags particularly. For the major attractions for SeaWorld San Antonio, you are not allowed to bring bags with you, and they will not even let you get in the queue with a bag, which naturally means forcefully buying a locker, right? Wrong, there's actually two ways to avoid this. One, if you have someone not riding the attraction, you can let them carry your stuff while you're going on the attraction. But two, and this is kind of risky, but it does work, you can hide your stuff. For example, steel eel. They will not let you get in the queue with a bag or anything like that. But what you can do, and what I've noticed, is that you can hide your bags behind certain benches or behind certain parts of the queue that's not in the way of people. As long as it's not in the way of people, it's fine, and your bag can stay there safely, as you can watch it from the queue if you want, and make sure no one steals it. Again, it is kind of risky because you're kind of putting your own stuff at risk for getting stolen, but depending on where you put your stuff, it should be fine for the duration of waiting in line and getting on the ride. The only exception that I do have is Wave Breaker, because there's not really much place to hide anything there. And because it's on a main pathway, yeah, your stuff can really disappear real quick. But again, it's not guaranteed. But honestly, it is kind of a dumb rule, because SeaWorld is really capable of having bins like Six Flags to put your stuff in. They just don't want to invest in it, which sucks, and hopefully they change it soon. But I guess the best tip is avoid bringing bags and just bring cargo shorts with lots of pockets. Now, what about the attractions that have the longest wait? Well, for those we have Wave Breaker, Journey to Atlantis, and Great White if it's running one train. Steel Eel's line really goes fast, unless it's running one train, and Texas Stingray, same thing. Definitely the one you never have to worry about despite how busy it is Tile Surge. Because of how much capacity it has, the line goes by real quick. So you can definitely put that one off to the end. Though the same cannot be said for Wave Breaker the Rescue Coaster. I consider it the most popular coaster in SeaWorld San Antonio. Mainly because it's a family coaster, so therefore it attracts more guests. It's in the center of the park, so it's the first thing you see when you're walking in. Oh yeah, and it has outrageous wait times up to 180 minutes. And it's not false, the wait times are pretty accurate for Wave Breaker. So if you really want to ride a Wave Breaker during your visit at SeaWorld San Antonio, you only have two options. One, that's the very first attraction you ride when you go to the park. Or two, you wait to ride the attraction till it's almost like 15 minutes before closing. Those are the only times you see Wave Breaker at a walk-on. The other exception would be actually waiting the time. And I've tried waiting in it during lunch or any other period where it looks like no one's waiting in line, but Wave Breaker's consistently full throughout the day. It's just one of those coasters, and it's 10 times worse on a packed day. So yeah, plan ahead for Wave Breaker. So since it's summer, we definitely have to talk about the water attractions that SeaWorld San Antonio offers. They currently have two water rides, Journey to Atlantis and Rio Loco. Both offer a different extremity of how you want to get wet. I completely understand those who don't want to be completely soaked to the point where their shoes are filled with water, because it is a hassle to walk around the park in that. So I'm here to help, and I'll list all the attractions that get you the most soaked and the least soaked. Starting with the least soaked, surprisingly we have Journey to Atlantis. Despite sitting in the back, if you sit in any row of Journey to Atlantis, you'll mostly get your top wet, like your head, face, and top of your shirt. But your shoes will remain dry, and because you don't get wet that much, you'll be able to dry off like in 30 minutes. possibly quicker if you do another attraction. Now, just because the actual ride doesn't get you wet, if you are going to do the standby and get soaked when it passes by, that's a different story. You will get completely soaked there. So if you don't want to get wet, don't stand in the path of Journey to Atlantis. But definitely ride it. Next up, we have the Clyde and Seymour Sea Lion show. Sure, it's a different show now, but I'm assuming they still have water effects. That show won't get you wet that much unless you sit in the splash zone. But even then, it's more like mist, because the little oil tower will open up and shoot water at you. So it's not bad. Next up, we have the Orca encounter. This one, if you sit in the splash zone, you will get soaked. It's like a bunch of water that falls on you, and yes, you will get water in your shoes. It really does suck, and you really do get soaked in that one. I really was caught off guard the last time I watched the show. So yeah, don't make that mistake. And finally, the one that you get the most soaked on is Rio Loco. No surprise there, but this is really one intense Roaring Rapids attraction. Like at first, you don't get wet by the waves, and if you do, you're lucky. But if you somehow manage to be dry the entire attraction, you will 100% guaranteed get soaked when you hit the waterfall. There's a waterfall at the end of the attraction with a lot of water, and it will fall on you. It hits like 90% of the boat. So yeah, there's no escaping it, and you will come off really soaked. So there's all the attractions that will get you wet, and that way you know which ones you want to do, so that way you get at least a little wet, or if you're brave enough to get completely soaked for the entire day. Now here's some personal tips to have even more fun on the rides of Seaworld San Antonio. For Texas Stingray, a night ride on Texas Stingray is absolutely amazing. There's barely any lights, so you can't see where you're going, and it's absolutely fun. But wait, there's more. Last row on Texas Stingray is absolutely amazing, and the coaster will haul you throughout the course, including some great airtime. So I highly recommend if you want a more intense experience of Texas Stingray. For Tidal Surge, I definitely recommend sitting in a seat facing the station, because then when you swing, you'll be facing the water, and the attraction feels a lot taller that way, and it's more fun, especially at night. For Wavebreaker, I recommend sitting in the front row. Yes, you'll go faster in the back, but the front is definitely more surreal and you get better views as well as to the water below you. For Great White, I recommend the same thing, because again, better views and it's more fun that way. For Steel Eel, I definitely recommend sitting last row, because Steel Eel has amazing airtime. So last row is absolutely insane. So if you want a really intense ride on Steel Eel, definitely last row is the way to go. For Journey to Atlantis, I also recommend sitting last row, if you're able to. And yes, you will get a little bit more wet, but if you put your hands up when you go backwards on the hill, you actually get some airtime, not gonna lie. And those are all the ride tips. So for Seaworld San Antonio, all their restaurants are pretty much the same. They all offer the same buffet structure, where you can pay individually through a buffet menu, or pay for all you can eat. And honestly, I definitely love this and I wish more theme parks did this. But as for tips, it really comes down to what you like. But I do have a restaurant I highly recommend and one I don't recommend as much. For the one I highly recommend, it's definitely The Grill, which is this restaurant right next to Tidal Surge. The reason I highly recommend it is because it has more food options, and I really love briskets and ribs. Plus, it's very filling, and honestly worth the price, especially for a big family. As for the one I don't recommend as much, we have Rosita's Cafe. While the idea of a pizza buffet is absolutely amazing and I wish more theme parks did this, the quality in this restaurant isn't the same compared to the others. Maybe just because it's older, or maybe because it needs some more work. I'm not 100% sure why, but I just don't prefer it as much. Doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, all the restaurants in Seaworld San Antonio are actually pretty good, so I highly recommend checking any of them out. Now what about dining times? Between 12 and 3 is definitely the lunch rush. That's when the restaurants get more packed and there's a lot of people, and sometimes there's unavailable seats because of how packed it is, depending on how busy the day is at the park. And if you really want to ride attractions, that's the perfect time to get on them, because that's when wait times are a little bit less than before. So I suggest eating either earlier or a lot later, so that way you won't be hungry during that time period, and maybe even buy snacks during that time. Another tip I highly recommend is eating breakfast before you visit the park, because if you decide to skip it, you'll be less energized, and you'll be more prone to getting sick on attractions, which can ruin your visit. Anyways, that's my tips on dining. And now for some rapid fire additional tips. Number 1, bring a spare change of sandals. If you're interested in getting wet at some of the water rides or watching some of the shows in the splash zone, I recommend wearing sandals for that specifically, so that way your socks don't get wet and you won't be in pain when walking in tennis shoes. And it'll make the day a lot easier. Number 2, while I don't recommend lockers, definitely bring pants with a lot of pockets, because of course not all the attractions allow bags, so lots of pockets comes in handy. Number 3, definitely watch Electric Ocean. This show is special only for summer, and if you're able to catch the show, I 10 out of 10 recommend it. Number 4, do not ride Riptide Rescue, Sea Swinger, and Great White back to back. This is a horrible combination to make you sick, and I've seen it happen. Next, if you're able to, definitely check out Aquatica. It's definitely a super underrated water park, and it has amazing water slides with amazing theming. Yes, it's an additional fee at SeaWorld, but like I said, if you're able to, definitely check it out. Continuing, I also recommend watching some shows. When rides are packed, the best thing to do is definitely watch some shows, because they're never a wait, minus Sesame Street show. But like I said, majority of them have giant stadiums where you can sit down with lots of room, so if all the ride wait times are over an hour, definitely check out a show to waste some time, or just go eat. For the best merch stores, I recommend the Wavebreaker gift shop, the Currents gift shop next to the Penguin exhibit, and the gift shops by the front entrance. Oh yeah, and one hidden gift shop, the One Discovery Point. It actually has some pretty good merch there. Finally, have fun. Seaworld San Antonio is a great theme park to visit for families and for friends. They might not have a lot of attractions like Six Flags, but they're all a lot of fun. And if you follow these tips carefully, you might be able to ride them all in one day. Now it doesn't mean you have to follow my plan exactly. You can definitely alter it to your own, because in the end, it's your visit to SeaWorld, not mine. So definitely use these tips however you want to use them, and I'm glad I can help. Anyways, do you have any additional tips? Comment down below. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is JB Thrills, signing out.